up to your first date with chocolates and roses, like, you're not going to be more likely to sleep with that girl. In fact, I would argue that you'd be much less likely to sleep with that girl.
How do guys not get intimidated or nervous by hot women?
Well, I mean, there's like the correct way, and then there's hacks. I mean, you can just like pretend like the girl has chlamydia, you know, if you like mentally kind of like register like she has chlamydia, and like you wouldn't fuck her even if she wanted to fuck you, you're going to interact differently with that girl. And so that would be like the first hack to just like tell a guy, you know what I mean? Like if they go up to a super hot chick and they're just otherwise going to be really giddy and, you know, nervous and just like excited, and all they can think about is like, you know, how do I get this girl to like me? And then that they're actually on a date with the girl, which they probably never will be, you know, like, you know, should I make a move now? All this shit, right? But like, if you give her chlamydia, you just like suck all that out, you know, then you take away that anxiety. He's not thinking about like, you know, how do I have sex with her? He's not thinking about like, should I make a move now? And he's going to interact with her differently, you know, and that's one of the things is like interact with these girls like they don't have a bunch of power over you. Like, you know, like you don't need them. Neediness is not attractive. Right. And I think that's one of the things that guys subcommunicate when they, you know, overcompliment, when they overchase, when they do a lot of things that guys do, is they just put themselves in a category of like, you know, the needy guy, which is most men. And if you want to have, you know, if you want to have success with a super hot girl, like don't act like all the rest of the guys.
How should guys build confidence? Because it's all well and good saying that you should be the prize and you should make her chase, but what if you've got low self-esteem?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a problem that a lot of guys are going to have to deal with, right? So by not making the conversation binary, right, by not hitting on the girl, you're actually going to lower the pressure. Because if you just, let's just say you just ask for directions. Not that that's like, you know, the correct way, but I'm just saying as an example, you're not going to get nervous to ask a girl for directions, right? But you're going to get nervous if you feel like you're going to get rejected, right? And you get rejected when you communicate interest, or you put her in a position like, you know, you give her compliments, or you kind of like state your intentions. You tell her, you know, that, you know, you think she's beautiful and you want to buy her a drink or whatever the fuck it is, you know. So I would say go into the interaction from a standpoint of like, I just want to get to know this person. I want to find out more. I want to dig deeper, you know, like act like you're on the Bachelor and you've got 20 other options. You're not just going to pick the first option. Like you're going to want to know more about this girl. And if you go into the interaction with that, you're going to subcommunicate a lot more value, because that's how, you know, a guy that has options is going to act. So you can kind of act as if, and you can cheat the system a little bit, and you can like do some hacks in your mind to like put you in a better headspace, which is going to then subcommunicate confidence. And when you do that, then you're going to have better results. When you have better results, you're actually going to naturally have more confidence. You're going to have less anxiety because you're not putting yourself in a position to get rejected, right? And so there's a lot of things that you can do. And so my game has always been about like doing less to get a better result. And I think a mistake that a lot of guys make is they put in a lot of perceived effort. And this is before sex. So before sex, the amount of effort that you put in is going to cut negatively against you. And this is very like counterintuitive for a lot of guys, because in life, in your job, in business, you know, the more effort, the more you're going to get a raise, or the more likely to get a promotion. You show up at your, you know, buddy's house at 2 a.m. to bail them out or whatever, you know, you bail them out of jail, like the things that you do for your friends, like, you know, then they'll have your back, right? So like all this effort is rewarded everywhere in life except for dating. So the more effort that you put in before you have sex with the girl, the harder it's going to be actually to have sex with that girl. And I think a lot of guys don't understand that concept.
What would you say to the women on the internet that go, but guys don't make enough effort with me? I want them to make effort. I want them to show me that they're interested. There's enough Lothario Playboy guys out there. It's actually really attractive when a guy shows me that he's interested and displays effort.
She's lying. Like, I mean, I think it's good to give effort after it's justified or deserved, but like I just ignore almost everything that women say, because it's almost all bullshit. Because you ask women like, what do you want in a guy? And then you look at the last 20 guys they fucked and they have like almost none of those things on the list. So like asking, which is why like women dating coaches are just like such a waste of time, because there's what women say they want and then there's what they respond to, and what they respond to is what's important, right? So, and I don't think a lot of them understand like the subconscious response mechanisms too. Like one big one is pre-selection and jealousy. Like those are
Talk to me about that. So pre-selection, you arriving or you being around other attractive girls. Not everybody has access to 100 chick harem in a desert island. What can guys do to get that pre-selection going?
I'm actually not like teaching do what I did, because that's, you know, not really the direction that I feel like most guys are probably going to want to go down, and I don't think it's really like an achievable thing. What I'm teaching is more like, and I say teaching, like I'm not trying to be like a dating coach. I just want to kind of like put the right information out there so these guys have a roadmap to get where the they want to go. And I think the big thing is, if they just didn't do the things wrong, they would have a massive leg up. So we just like start with like, don't do the like common mistakes. And then also, you know, when I say put in effort, I'm like, I think it should be reciprocated too. Like a buddy of mine, he would have girls pick up a gallon of milk, you know, on the way to his house. And he didn't even drink milk, but the act of them like doing something for them made them more invested in the relationship, you know? And so these guys, like the effort is not going to be correlated to your positive outcome. Just like if you showed up to your first date with chocolates and roses, like you're not going to be more likely to sleep with that girl. In fact, I would argue that you'd be much less likely to sleep with that girl. And so it's just, listen, once you're in a relationship, you can put in effort, but I think the effort needs to be reciprocated, because the problem is if you're the only one putting in effort, if you subscribe to this like happy wife, happy life bullshit, then what happens is that effort becomes expected and not appreciated. And that's when women cheat on guys. When the guy is like constantly, because those are all a form of chasing. When you're constantly like making concessions, when let's say movies, for instance, like, you know, a woman would be happier watching an action movie on the third movie, you know, like let's say she wanted to watch a rom-com and you caved and you're like, okay, fine, I'll watch a rom-com. Second one, okay, you know, we can watch that. And the third one, you're like, no, tonight we're watching an action movie. She's gonna be happier watching that shitty movie that she doesn't like because she's next to a man that she respects than watching some stupid rom-com with some guy that she feels like as a pushover.
Very
like,
pliable.
People want boundaries. Like you want that too. I want that. Like I like a submissive woman, but I still want her to have like some sense of self.
An absolute doormat.
Well, I want her to have some sense of self. Like I want to know who she is, you know, like she needs to stand up for something once in a while.
So there's a sort of degree of untrustworthiness to someone that's, if I can't trust your no, how can I trust your yes? You know, my favorite example of this is Alex Hormozy. So Layla, his wife, is big into fashion and she gets dressed up and she's, you know, makeup and new hair and she's like a fashiony sort of chick. Alex wears shorts, a wife beater and Crocs with long socks. And he said, it's a really interesting point, that Layla is more attracted to me wearing the things that I want to wear than wearing the things that she wants me to wear. She's way more attracted to the guy that does what he wants to do, even if it's not what she wants to do, because
that's a real person.
Correct.
Like that's unique to him. That's what makes him him.